Instead of teaching founders how to make more content, this guest believes that the best content already exists. It's inside your voice notes, your conversations, your life experiences, lessons, and unfinished thoughts. It just hasn't been systemized yet. Today's guest is someone who's helped shape content and communications behind brands like ClickUp, CapCut, and Microsoft, and now leads PR and communication at acquisition.com. What makes today's conversation different is that Jodi-Kay Edwards' perspective is on the content itself. In a world where creators are burning out trying to feed algorithms, Jodi-Kay's framework is about building a Netflix-style content architecture. Pillars, series, and episodes that allow your team, or even AI, to scale your content without losing your voice. So today we're talking about how to stop creating from scratch, how to retrieve content from your real life, and how founders can build self-sustaining content systems that actually sound human. Jodi-Kay, welcome to the show. Jodi-Kay, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on today. I think my audience is going to really enjoy learning from you. One thing that you really talk about is how most founders already have years of content hidden in their lives. What do you think people are missing that they feel like they need to constantly create something new?
Yes, their own unique perspective, thought leadership, point of view. And sometimes it just feels so overwhelming when we sit down to make content, but we don't have that quote unquote inspiration or that content bank. So, what do most founders do? They outsource that maybe a little bit too early before they even have clarity. So now their brand voice is feeling disjointed and not like them. And then there's the other portion now in the age of AI where we're no longer handing that work or delegating it to a social media manager. We're delegating it to AI first. And without that context, it doesn't fully sound like you. So I believe when we don't look internally first and we do external validation, maybe we're copying trends or hooks. Heck, maybe we're not even sending anything to AI or our assistant quite yet. We're looking around in the market to see like how we should sound. And I always say, let's just strategize on the input. And a lot of times that input comes if we have an ongoing, kind of like a life content bank, which I'm such an advocate for your voice recorder in your phone and of course the notes app on your phone because I've been through it where I've used ClickUp, I've used all the things, Notion, Airtable, and when I have an idea, if I have to open and dig through apps, it's gone or it creates that subconscious friction where now I'm like, ooh, idea, ooh, I have insight, let me document it. And then let me take that input and then put it into AI and then reform it from there. So that's just like the beginning. I like to say is like that's how you find that you're your niche essentially versus like this is my niche and this is what I should talk about.
Yeah, that's some great advice. I think often too, it's hard to remember to take a step back when you're creating content or when you're founder-led marketing, if you want to think about it from that way too. The reason your audience is going to trust you and to feel like they know you is because you are sharing that authentic content. I think it's so easy now too because there's so much advice coming from all over, on social media, like you said, include a hook, share all these things that you kind of can forget your voice in the process. One thing that you've mentioned is that a lot of founders are searching for that content piece or they're going outside. And instead of maybe looking to internal, so things like your notes app or your voice memos that you may already have. If you're on a walk or, if you're driving in your car and you get this idea and you write it down or you record it, that could be a really great source of your content piece.
Yes. Or even like the shower thought, right? Have you had like are you like a shower thought kind of person?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm like hopping out like I have to get this.
Right.
So now it's like one less step and hopefully we can get more of those thoughts out. Someone should make an app. That would be a great.
That is a great idea. Yeah, I think it's often too when you tune out from consuming content is when you have the best content ideas. So when you're just going with your thoughts, if you're on a walk and you're not listening to something, I feel like when I at least get my most creative ideas. If someone's listening and they're thinking, okay, so I'm going on these walks, I have all these ideas, what does that process look like where they have some thoughts written down in their notes app? And now the notes app maybe has gotten overwhelming for them to look at because there are so many ideas. And they're like, how do I even turn this conversation or this idea into a content plan? Like, what does that process look like? And how can they make it into more of a repeatable content engine versus a bunch of notes that they have saved on their phone?
Yes, and it goes back to the old way of content strategy, right? We have the content calendar, we're throwing random things on it. I am more focused on that initial feeling. And now it's like, okay, we know founders, we can't build businesses based on feeling. We need, to have discipline and have clarity. But if we can organize it this way to say, generally, these are the days that I feel like inspiration hits. Let me study that and pull a series. Maybe I have 5 revelations in my notes app or on my recorder app where I realize I'm speaking about this particular topic over and over and over again. For me, it was self mastery and personal development. And I didn't give myself a label, I just allowed myself to find my own niche within that, which started out as me saying, hey, I'm going to do like Wellness Wednesday. And from Wellness Wednesday, I realized, ooh, I actually want to expand. So now it's like my Saturday strategy, instead of that being like, okay, let me do business strategy because that's what I felt like I had to do. I just expanded on my topic from Wednesday. And then I realized come Monday, I would share like a mindset tip or I would have a mindset thought, because what was happening? My routines and my cadence was already making it easy for me to create content and put content out there, because Monday I was always going through my routine for the rest of the week, right? By Wednesday, I am rethinking on something I went through Monday, Tuesday, especially if you are in any type of leadership position or you are working with a team. There's going to be conversations, there's going to be things that you're reflecting on. So
Hmm.
around midweek, I realized, this is something that I find myself, recollecting on. Not like there's something crazy or profound every week, but
Hmm.
that pattern helped me see the cadence. And now I'm saying, these are actually the days that I'm going to be recording content. Where it's like previously, if we were to just put that on a content calendar, I would be losing that creative flow by saying, well, what am I going to post on Monday? What am I going to post on Wednesday? What am I going to post on Saturday? And I realized that I needed to schedule in those inspiration days, those days to data mine, those days to go into my content bank. So that's perfect if you have a lot of things there, because you're saying, I'm going to take this theme, this part of my life that happens to be reoccurring, and share it. And I'm going to say, these are the days that I genuinely feel like doing that, because I'm already going on a walk after work every XYZ day, right? I'm not sure if that fully makes sense, but it's restructuring how we were taught about content and matching it to our natural rhythm, because now the system flows. So the second part of the question is essentially, if you have clarity on how to kickstart that first part, now of course we can take it through a script. If you had a long audio recording, that's probably a script you're going to refine with AI, that maybe you're going to make a 1 minute video. So now we have the ideation, the data sourcing, the putting it on the calendar for when it's going to be published, and then we also have like the production, like when is that production going to be happening? So for a lot of us, we don't, we're not Gary Vee, we don't have a camera crew, we might schedule a brand shoot, but what is the issue with these brand shoots? Well, my photographer should know, or such and such should know my brand better than me. No, if you actually have implemented this, even for a week, try it for a week, try it for 30 days. You can always go back to whatever you're doing before. See how much easier it is for you to rely on your own context for content. And
Hmm.
then the rest of it won't feel so, I'm posting like a wealth tip on Tuesday. It's like engraved, because you go through your finances on Tuesday. So you're always going to have like a data source to pull from.
I think for a lot of creators, it's very relatable to think about, okay, I have this content calendar, I have to post this many times each week, and then trying to scramble to either create or to come up with the content idea on that day and then share it out, versus it seems very organic the way you're describing it, where it actually is kind of flipping it in the way that we've always kind of thought about it, where it's like you have to be the one to create the content to align with this calendar that we've kind of all structured based on, I don't know, advice somewhere. But it seems like you actually think about it from the reverse, where you're saying, okay, I'm going to create authentically what aligns best with my lifestyle, instead of trying to fit into a niche or try to fit into something. And then it seems like it comes across much more organically, which I think will be really a breath of fresh air for our audience too. I think a lot of times we put that pressure on ourselves. Okay, well, I have to come up with all these brand new ideas, but it seems like we already have the ideas. We just need to think about how to implement them. You've mentioned too the Netflix style architecture, and I think that that is such a great way to think about it. Thinking about content as pillars or series or episodes instead of just random posts that go on your calendar. If there's a founder listening to this show, how should they think about structuring their content in that way? Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, and what I'm talking about right now is actually pinned on my Facebook, and it's like public. So if you search Jodi-Kay Edwards, it's like the top post, because what I'm about to share, like the breakdown of that, is it can feel a little, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but it's is a whole new way to think about how we put ourselves into these different categories. So when we turn on Netflix, there's the show and then there's the episodes, if it's like an episodic. And we've seen this idea of series become more popularized. However, it's been there. It's just taking an episode like this of someone saying, hey, I've actually done this, I've lived this. Here is like my closer understanding of it and me closing the gap. So I want to close the gaps real quick. When we have those different episodes, each episode is going through some type of story arc. That's what makes the series engaging on social media. Your audience is joining you at one point of the series. Maybe it's an office series. We've seen that popularized. There is a really cool coffee shop that I follow that has this really neat series where they have now invited, other people of influence in, and it kind of started out something that they started filming with just their friends, and they love coffee, so why not make a series about it? Too often we're thinking like, I don't know what the series would be about. When you think about the different characters in each episode as well, you might attribute those characters to your personality. So you might be sharing something about yourself in episode 1 of your new series versus a movie. That's kind of like what each individual piece of content is like, right? It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We're hoping that people like the movie enough to hit follow. When we think about this Netflix style, it now expands the amount of people that we hook in to our content because one, it's generally super niche down, right? You're not watching a TV show unless it's like Black Mirror or something with like the episodes not connecting.
Right.
So it does help us to think like I can grow my audience with one topic, so I actually don't have to post as much. And this is specifically helpful for the founder who is extremely busy. If you have a content series that let's say you're going to film, your new episode is dropping every Monday, that's 4 days a week. That's back to what we've heard about when it comes to batch scheduling, right? So let's think about it. Could I do hair and makeup for the ladies? Not saying that's necessary. Or could I get my outfit together for everyone, right? And plan out 3 or 4 different looks and batch schedule that. So now I have one, my talking head video done. Why? Because I'm pulling it from my life experience. And we're using the strategy that if you want to implement this right now, your next 30 days is going to really look like you doing a deep dive, you noticing when you get inspired, you picking up the phone and recording, or you taking notes. And then you're going to be fitting it into like a schedule context. And I just want to like run that back so we can arrive here. Now, when you data mine, you have so much, which is great. Hopefully you have enough. You can now organize it to say, my unfair advantage. That's the series that I currently have. And I talk about how I've achieved success and the different things that I'm going through. Like I've received some, good news and some bad news. So that's like if I use the same strategy, which I do, record on my phone, now I have context for my scripts. And if I'm supplementing my content strategy because let's say I don't even want to do talking head. Let's say you're not someone who enjoys being on camera. I'm going to give you like a juicy piece of advice, explore different content and do like the mixing of that. So we've seen those tweet carousels. That concept is really just 5 to 7 to 10, heck, maybe even 20, strings of words. And then you have your audio from your phone, or let's say you don't want to be on camera, you can overlay that audio track on that carousel. So now you have a visual paired with your carousel. There's just so much to do. You get to design your own show. You get to design how it feels. So if we're putting this in full context and we're thinking Netflix style and we have a new episode coming out every Monday, for the next 6 days, what are we doing? You can double down and release another episode, right? Maybe you're releasing it twice a week, 3 times a week. Once a week is fine, but maybe now you're supplementing it with those Instagram carousel slides, right? Maybe you're supplementing it with Canva graphics. So that's really one way to break it down. I don't want to go on too much.
That's a really great way to put it. I also feel like it's a refreshing viewpoint because so many people feel like they have to share a lot. I speak with a lot of founder-led business owners on the show, and I think coming up with that balance of I want to be personable and I want people to know me and know my brand, but I also don't want to post everything. Like they want to keep their personal life personal and private, and they want to talk about their business, but but they do want to feel like their consumer can connect with them, which is, totally understandable. Like that balance can be really hard to find, but the way you just broke it down makes a lot of sense. Or you're focusing on, maybe it is that topic, maybe it is a coffee chat, maybe it is you're showing them how to do something with your product. They can still feel like they get to know you when you add some information about yourself without having to feel like you have to be on Instagram stories all day and share like everything about your life. Founders are getting really excited about AI because you can generate a lot of content very quickly. But one thing we're seeing right now, and I think a lot of people are getting fatigued from AI, and they're also feeling like content can sound very generic when they're using AI to create it. How do you personally use AI? Are there teams that you use that help to scale that content, but also still make sure that the creator's actual voice and perspective is still there?
Yep, this would be one of my biggest hacks is having a conversation with Claude and allowing it to just be that. And if I go into Claude and say, write me a script, here's a transcript, and I'm copying and pasting the transcript from my phone into Claude, it has additional context that's going to sound like me. But if I'm having a conversation, I'm going to say, I'm going to prompt it, right? That's what a lot of us are doing. Like, hey, I can't think of this one movie, and we might start to explain it. Claude is going to pop in and fill that in. The conversation gets to be, there's this part in my script where I mentioned XYZ. I would like you to insert a reference here and rewrite this line to be more storytelling. Now, a lot of us stop here. It's going to give us a prompt that we're either going to reprompt and reprompt and reprompt until we feel like it sounds like us. But something I actually do is I ask Claude, I say, what does this mean? And that's like the next layer, a little hack I found because I was getting so frustrated in my workflow. I was like, great, AI, love it, still do.
Right.
And I'm doing everything that I've shared here, but every once in a while, it's going to give me some type of what we call AI slop, right? We've heard that
Yes.
term. And that's where we're like, if we are avid, advanced users of AI, we already kind of can see that and catch that. No
Mm-hmm.
shade. If you're a little bit newer, you're still leaving those M dashes in, you're not changing AI words, right? So this is great advice for everyone at every level of AI usage. Asking it what it means. For some reason, just try it. Claude breaks character, I've noticed, and talks to you almost like as a thought partner, where it's no longer trying to go through a prompt of being whatever you told it to be, or it's no longer giving you a response that's so inspirational or aspirational. It breaks it down to like a fifth grader language. And if you don't already have that input into your AI, I always recommend that, depending on your profession, adding that caveat of breaking it down in that fifth grader. Sometimes I go third grader language. I like that version of the script a lot more. It doesn't dumb it down, but it gets rid of all of the AI slop, but I shouldn't say all, most of it. And it's talking to me more like I would talk to me. So
Mm-hmm.
using Claude as a thought partner versus just like the first prompt you give it and allowing that output to be the final output is where we lose a lot of our voice because it's taken what we've wanted. And if we know anything about the LLM's model, it's really just inferring. It's saying 1 + 1 = 2, and I'm going to show her 2 because that's what
Right.
I think is supposed to go next. It's like a pattern recognition. And so that's why it feeds us things that sound a little off because somewhere down the line it took a left when we wanted to go right. So that's a little hack that does get you a little bit closer. One, use your own input always from your voice notes, your thoughts, whenever you're inspired from listening to hopefully this episode. If
Yep.
you're in the business of content, maybe this inspire you to do more. If you're in a different field, it's the idea. When do you look for inspiration? You're looking at a podcast, right? You're listening to something, you're watching something. Jot that down. And in that moment, take that and actively put it into Claude and then ask Claude, what does this mean? And just see if you like that input a little bit better.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. I definitely have to try that. We just like keep prompting it and reprompting it. And we're like, it doesn't really sound right. Try it one more time. And then you can go through so many different variations. I like that you said, share it back to me. Even when you're speaking with a friend, I feel like that's how people would like to read content online now. I think people are definitely catching on to the AI slop. It turns people away from businesses. They don't feel connected to the content either. If you think about it like you're speaking to a friend and that's how you would write your copy and that's how you would share, maybe it is sharing a voice note, maybe it is recording a selfie video if you're comfortable doing that, but that can really help your audience connect with you. You can definitely use AI to streamline a lot of this, but it gives you that little personal touch. So that's a great tip you offered there. You frame content as a self-recognition process instead of maybe a niche selection exercise. How does that shift apply to founders who are showing up online, and what can they do to build more trust with their audience?
A lot of that is going to be sharing what their audience is inquiring about. One of the things that I had to get over was creating this level of selfish content. And when I say selfish content, I mean creating content that, yeah, back in the day we would do market research, etc., but it was more so like the unvetted content.
Hmm.
So, my current series actually came from feedback that people were giving me all the time, right? Saying, wow, I really like your thought process. I really like how you handle that situation. Or, I've noticed that you are someone that people gravitate to. How do you, carry yourself in a room? What do you do when you're scared? All of these questions I realized when I again, used my thought partner, Claude, and asked what is like the deep psychological, not just issue, but solution here? Like, what is the brain needing? And I was able to use like an essence of me to create the base for my content strategy. So, no matter where I am, like whether it's like a set in my home, which I just have sets built everywhere, because again, the essence of me, I realized that I'm not just creating intentional living apartment style content mixed with this like intentional living mindset. I call it like the elevated mind. I am doing that for the types of people that I've attracted throughout my life. So that is essentially my target audience. And again, it's the opposite. I didn't go to Cloud or chat and say, this is who I am, who's my target audience, which I think is like what a lot of people are doing. I looked at the past history, the past conversations I was having, and that allowed me to have more confidence in terms of what types of people would be engaging with my content. I just had someone take someone else on a video of mine that was like, hey, I think you would really like her content. And I was like, wow, thank you. That means my message is so clear that it's resonating with someone else, that they can explain to someone else, why they would like it. Someone else not message, sent, put a comment underneath that was like, the video was about reinventing yourself and change, asking, oh, are you taking us on a journey with you, right? And when you realize that people are using the words that you can also like use back in your content,
Hmm.
now there's this strategy layer of, my hook. I can go comment hook under someone's post and get like 50 of their hooks, or I can pull hooks from myself. I had an unexpected journey that I'm going to share with you here today. I can do that a lot better, but I'm just thinking like if I were to open another video based off the data I have been collecting from the engagement that I've been receiving, it
Hmm.
would probably add the word journey in there in the first, couple seconds. I wouldn't use that one that I just made up, but it's an example
Right.
of just like, hey, I'm going to sit down with you today and talk to you about how to reinvent your life. It's like, wow, have I been on an unexpected journey lately? And this is how I had to learn how to pivot my life in 3 days, right? That now is like, that is kind of interesting. And wow, I actually didn't have to go. Now that one we kind of like, I test it,
Yeah,
but
that's pretty good.
I didn't have to download it. I didn't have to seek externally. So, this
Right.
whole revolution that I'm trying to get people to understand is you actually probably already know what that is. And as someone who was a brand strategist and a brand manager in her previous life, I know that would make my job a lot easier. So, I'm not sure about you and your clients right now, but how amazing would it be if your clients came to you with this level of clarity, Bex? Because one, you can get them the transformation a lot fast. They feel really confident that what they've just handed you is something that can be molded to hit a little bit closer to what they're looking. Because how many of us have wasted money, not even like on an expert, just essentially, well, yeah, essentially, I guess an expert, whether it's your website or you hire someone for a bio or a brand kit, whatnot. And because I've been on both sides, it's not always that expert's fault. It's the input, the same with the AI. If you were to come to me and say, hey, I am trying to get seen in XYZ magazine, right? I would have to reverse engineer and find a story to pitch to that journalist that is in alignment with what you already talk about so you can be an expert contributor or you can be part of a roundup. If you just come to me and say, hey, I want to be an expert in, excuse me, I want to be in this magazine and there's no context,
Right.
it's increasing the chances that I'm going to get it wrong. So we have to think about that before we hand information to our team. How much clarity do I have about who I am, what I want to be known for? Branding is perception, how I want to be perceived in the
Right.
online space, maybe business is offline in the offline space, and who am I going to be attracting? So that target audience answer, I'm actually going to challenge everyone here, unless you just started your business today. It's okay to use a method I call GTV, guess it, test it, vet it, right? Because you have to. But if you have been around for a couple months, a couple years, it's as easy as going back through and seeing what your audience is saying, what your audience is engaging with the most, and putting out more of that.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. I think often too, for a lot of business owners, and it's really easy to get wrapped up in what you think the solution is that you're solving. You think this is the problem that your audience is facing and how what response you think you would want. It's not necessarily selfish content. It's just content that just because you would maybe find it valuable, someone else might not find it valuable, and they actually need you to help them solve a different problem. So I think it's really easy to forget that the analytics are there too, and then not even from the data side, just taking a look through your comments, taking a look and seeing what Instagram stories were people really gravitating towards. Was there something you talked about that resonated with people or that they wanted to learn more about? Because that's a really easy way to find the value that you can provide to them. Because if there are people that are reaching out about something already, it kind of can snowball from there, and then you have a lot of content that you can create around that topic. So I think that's some really great advice. I know personally, I kind of sometimes get a content idea and then I create content and I'm like, that wasn't really based off of like, if people want to hear it, I kind of just wanted to talk about it. So I think it's really easy for a lot of us to kind of fall
Been
into
there,
that.
done that.
Been there, done that for sure. And as we wrap up this episode, if there's someone listening right now feeling really overwhelmed by content creation, are there any exercises that you would recommend they can do today? Maybe it's only using their phone, their notes app, voice memos that can get them a lot of content that they can then use for to showcase maybe their own life experiences. So I don't know if that means recording more content or going on more walks, but what's some advice that you could offer them?
Yes, absolutely. Your personal brand, I know you'll like this one, Bex, is going to unlock so much for you in terms of content that connects. And if there is a adjacent topic from your personal brand, even if you're currently developing it with your business brand, I recommend trying to find what that is. And this might sound like counterintuitive because I'm going to say if you're really listening to this episode and you're like, I feel so stuck still, okay, it's okay. Go get inspiration. The goal is that you're not feeling stuck every time you have to sit down and make content. Go
Right.
listen to like the top 5 podcast episodes that you know is going to either light you up or motivate you. You're going to find that a lot of us have this through line, which if you are a founder, you are technically kind of pretty much grandfathered into like the high achiever society because we are working endless hours for a result that we are just hoping the audacity and the delulu to like
Yes,
go after
exactly.
it. So because of that, I firmly believe that we're all connected in terms of wanting to better ourselves. So if you're like my entire brand is like mindset and personal branding, but I showcase my personal branding through my authenticity. And let's break down what that is. It's like, what do I normally do? Like, how do I actually live my life when the cameras aren't on? It just so happens that now my home is aesthetic and now it's like I'm doing all these things. I'm invited to all these cool places. So I have a lot of like great content pieces. Like on the press side, it's kind of like an angle, a story, like a press hook or a bite. It's going to be like a journalist beat. We have to think about like if someone's going to write about us, what is that specific beat or that angle? And so for me, that angle is intentional living. And it really comes because I live intentionally. And all I do is capture myself living intentionally. There's going to be times I'm sitting on my couch and I'm reading and I love how the sun is coming in. And because of my own practice and my awareness and just stillness practice, I am noticing how beautiful the rays look as it's shining through my plant and hitting the wall. I record that. Now I have B-roll, right? I didn't have to do anything but be present. That's how I built my life. If I want to read and I'm saying, I think, I don't feel like talking today, let me just prop up my tripod really quick and get this 7 seconds of me reading because I'm actually about to read. Still have to invest in the personal brand and put time into it. I'm going to do that. Right now, I have this B roll. And if I organize all of that in Dropbox or, oh my gosh, I am not sponsored by this company, but let me share this app with you. It's called Roll. Have you heard of it before?
No, I haven't.
It is a life changing. I need to
Wow.
reach out to them. Okay, let me even look at my phone right now just to double check. Roll, it's purple,
Oh,
was such a game changer. I think it's in beta, but I think everyone has access to it. So when you find tools, a tool that I recently found is Roll. I believe I pay full transparency. Your girl does not gatekeep. I think it's $59 or $49 a month, but it's so worth it because all of those little clips, I know you have B-roll already,
Yeah.
but what are we doing with that B-roll, right?
Bing on my phone is what it's doing because I'll record it and I'll say, "This is great. I could use this for something." And then I'm like, "Well, there it goes. 2 months it's back. It's down. It's like already, just taking up all my phone storage that I already pay so much for." But yeah,
Exactly. The pain, the collective pain. So with
right.
this intentional living, I have really set out to decrease friction in every area of my life, which does give me that goal gives me a robust amount of content. So right there with you, girls, so much B-roll, it was insane. So I had to find a tool and or a system. So the system came first and then the tools came after because now when I use roll as part of my system, I already have all this B-roll. I can quite literally type what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for me sitting on couch, because that's something I do consistently. It's like a series, right? It's almost like my habits become my TV show.
Mhm.
That's the big takeaway here, right? It's just organizing it. When I work out, that's a part of my fitness. I'm not
Mhm.
a fitness influencer. I'm really just sharing my journey because intentionally I have body goals at the moment and I'm taking my audience through that. I would never used to be someone who would share food, but it's part of the storytelling when I pair it with a script. I might not want to just be like, here's this failed banana bread story I made that I turned into a bake, real story. But if I was like a fitness person, that would be a story on its own, right?
Mhm.
But I'm not. And that's not like the perception of the brand I want to be known of, like telling you how to turn this food that I suck at cooking
Yeah,
into something edible, right? But it's like, is it wasted B-roll? No, it's essentially like if I use this content code system, that's the name, let's give it a name. This
okay.
content code system is something that I have put together through trial and error, and there's nothing to do, there's nothing to buy, there's nothing to download. It is just a system that I want people to try because the result of it is always having a content strategy, always having something to produce. You've got a shot list now. If you're living intentionally, which is what I'm doing, which all of us should be doing
Yeah.
naturally. If you're intentionally saying, I want to create content about my business, you're around your laptop, you're around your computer, please set up your phone.
Right.
Male or female, that's your B-roll, right? If you are ready to talk on camera, please set up your phone. What are you going to talk about? We've reduced that friction. Go into your recordings or go into your notes app, right? And formulate, package it however you'd like to package it. My series, I open up with, the topic. This is my unfair advantage. And it's that simple, where I know every time I just need a topic and I know what I'm saying. So people know this is the show that we're going to keep tuning into. And then the essence of me makes the rest of the script. So by the time I go into Claude or whatever AI tool, and I use that tip of like, what does this mean? And it runs it back to me conversationally. And I'm saying, hey, make this 30 to 45 seconds, but please keep all of like the key elements, like my key stories.
Right.
It shortens it in ways that my brain just wouldn't be able to because I'm like, no, I need this sentence, I need that sentence.
Right.
So you're really supercharging your content strategy when you find a system that works for you. And without a doubt, I do believe that the content code is a new way of creating content that not enough people are doing. And no one's talking about creating content in a way that is sustainable
Mhm.
and scalable.
Yeah.
Because for me as a if I'm listening to this and I am a single founder, maybe I have a VA, maybe I have no, maybe it's just me, this is the biggest unlock because content is integrated into your life.
Right.
There's no I have to get ready because part of intentional living is you're gonna get those videos of me waking up because I have a routine there. I have
Mhm.
like a little set built, nothing crazy, like in my bathroom because I have like this LED light and I have a little sticker thing that I put here. Why? That's a set. I'm like, if
Mhm.
I know I can do B-roll of me brushing my hair, or I do these mirror talks because confidence is another part of my pillar. And that's the best place for me to do the mirror talks. And I just want to be able to boop, hit record without setting up anything
Right.
because the set is already preset. That is a way that I have accepted of building content into my life. My tripod, I keep it nearby because all
Mhm.
I want to do is capture that really quick. Now, the days that I want to have like a big brand shoot, yeah, I'm going to do the big brand shoot, but now I'm
Yeah.
not relying on the big brand shoot, right?
Everyone loves the big grand shoot, so yes.
Yes, that's it, exactly. I'm not relying on, like having to bring my best foot forward. It's more like now it's strategic. That's when I'm doing a campaign. I really hope anyone listening to this can really give this a go because it's such a game changer. It's opened up the lane for me for brand deals. It's opened up the lane for me to be invited to apply to different jobs, to secure different contracts. And I don't even have a massive following. It's just that level of clarity that my content converts into what I want it to convert for. At a time when I was using it to make sales, there is a little bit of a different strategy there, but the personal brand strategy with this angle skyrocketed my visibility, skyrocketed, so much for me in terms of being relatable that again, pairing this with like your business strategy, it just feels so good.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Thank you for sharing that. I think our audience is going to take away a lot of great information from this episode, and I really appreciate your time today. Something that you just touched on that I think is so important is just having that film ready. I so often too we think that it has to be like perfectly staged and set up and like you have to come up with this really cool photo or video idea. And it seems like the content that is resonating most with other people or that people are relating to are those talking to camera video versions of those reels, or even just like you said, propping up a tripod while you're doing something and having that background B-roll, adding a text overlay that's relatable. People feel like then they were invited into your family room, right? They kind of feel like they're a part of your journey and a part of your story. That's such a great, easy way for founder-led businesses to connect with people without maybe sharing the whole story. That was only 15 seconds of your day, but to us, it felt like we were hanging out with you there. So it really does go such a long way, and I think that's such great advice. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so excited to get this episode out there, and I'll be sure to add all of your links to your contact information in the show notes if anybody wants to connect with you or follow along on social media.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
This was such a refreshing conversation because it actually flipped the traditional content marketing advice on its head. Instead of chasing trends or trying to manufacture a brand persona, Jodi-Kay showed how founders mine experience, stories, and perspectives they already have and then build the systems around them. Thank you so much for joining us today on Branding with Bex. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep building your story.